Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3.
Why, hello, and welcome to my Whiskey Den, your favorite public access whiskey review show where craft whiskey is king. Tonight we have Tom Feld with us from Paradise North Distilling in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Thank you, Tom, for being with us this evening.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Mitch is not here tonight. He is not feeling good and has laryngitis, and said he might be in the chat for commenting, but he's not going to be here, and he says he's sorry about that. But I understand if we can't hear him that is a problem. So, Mike, thanks for being with us as always. Would you want to tell people about the Bar Cart Co-op before we go any further?
I'd be happy to tell people about the Bar Cart Co-op. All right. We are proud members of the Bar Cart Co-op, which is a collection of friends who create content for the whiskey and other distilled spirits public. The Bar Cart Co-op YouTube and Facebook pages have information about upcoming and past special shows, which happen about every quarter. There's been blind tastings, distiller panels, discussion of special collaborations, and the usage of unique grains. Bar Cart Co-op has educational and fun episodes for your enjoyment. The oldest show in the stable is Distillers Talk, hosted by Alan Bishop and Christy Atkinson. It's a conversation with people from distilleries and distillery adjacent that gets into the weeds with their interviews. New episodes arrive at the end of the work week. If you don't think that is nerdy enough, then check out One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute. This is the show where Alan Bishop answers any questions about distilling and often puts them to the test. It could be individual grains, mash bills, equipment, and methodology. New episodes come out randomly, so subscribe. This is also a very honest look at distilling, and I just happened to catch the one from today where Alan jumps out, and there aren't too many people willing to commit to a video where they've made mistakes. And he does talk about some mistakes that he made in using a particular still, which I thought that was very nice and honest of him to do that. Then we have the Bourbon Turntable, where they mix the love of music with the love of whiskey. Kevin and Drew have a conversation with musicians, writers, distillery folks, and common folks like us about music and whiskey. It releases every Wednesday on all your platforms, including YouTube. Kevin is in the chat, and he says that this week Drew and he will be talking about the 40th anniversary of Huey Lewis and the News sports album. All right. And then we have, last but not least, the If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything show. This is about spirits and the paranormal among us, as well as the unexplained and spiritual. Subscribe on Spotify to get all 3 seasons.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mike, for that. And like we started off with, Tom, thank you for being with us this evening. I really appreciate it. And we have a slew of things to go through here besides tasting, but we also want to get to know about you and how you got into owning a distillery, because it's a pretty big step. But we were going to start off this evening with kind of an experimental oat bourbon you were doing, which I found neat, and I love the way people are trying stuff. And like I said, I think I'm starting to find an underlying trend that I like oats in bourbon. But thanks for being with us, Tom. We really appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah, the oat bourbon. When we opened, we have another in-house bourbon, our old M28 bourbon, which is a corn rye bourbon. I was just looking to do something a little bit out of the box. And I realized that, I'm not the first person to do an oat bourbon, although it certainly isn't very common. And oats for me, having grown up on a farm here in Northeast Wisconsin, oats was one of our main crops. So to me, it seemed like a natural to go kind of back to my roots a little bit and mess around with that. So this is, the mash bill on this is 51% corn, 36 oats, and then 13 malted barley. And this is very much in the experimental phase. What we're drinking here tonight is only 3 months old. I mess around with small barrels, not because I don't think they produce really good bourbon, but it kind of helps me a little bit to kind of hone in on what that barrel is going to do to the overall flavor profile. So yeah, it's still pretty raw, obviously, because it's very young, but I will say that I'm pretty excited about the direction that this is going. I think I'm messing around with a few different char levels, toast levels. So it'll be a while before I kind of narrow in on where exactly I'm going to end up with this.
And I like when you were mentioning where you thought barrel-wise, where you're going from, I think with number 3, where this was, to where you're going to be headed. I think that will play well with what's going on. Yeah,
I think I'm going to end up with a 1 char over a heavy toast. That's got a ways to go, but I like where that's headed. I think that toast in particular just ties in nicely with this flavor profile that oats gives, which is really interesting, and I curious to see what you guys get out of it. But I mean, it's for me, it kind of is rye-like in some baking spice notes, but doesn't have that kind of the heat spicy, if that makes sense, that you get with rye. Yeah, it's just a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
I saw someone ask about the fermentation.
That would have been Mitch.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was so. What I did is I actually am using flaked oats or rolled oats. I'm not doing the milling of the oats, and it behaves nicely in the fermenter. So I didn't run into that. I was wary of that because I've heard those horror stories with oats. But yeah, fermentation went off fairly simply.
Okay. See, like I'm gonna have to go back into it, but on the nose, I get like a little bit of more of like an herbal note, like coming up to the glass. To me, on the nose further away, it almost smelled a little bit more herbally, like a real earthy gin. But then when you get into it more, it kind of opens up and you get more of the vanilla and caramel, and like you said, like the baking spice. And when I was, for what it is, after being like a couple months in a smaller barrel, it's like you said, I like some of the direction, but I really like on the flavor when I take a drink. It has oiliness. Front half is a little bright and spicy. I think over time that'll pull away. But as you let some air in, is when a lot of the oats and other flavors kind of start coming through. There's even a chocolate, a little bit of caramel right now. And it has more of that, the grain forward note to it coming through on the back end. So that second half to me really, like I said, is like I said, I like that. I think the front half over time in a bigger barrel, I mean, that's just, 3 months is 3 months. But it's not like that was sharp or too crazy or anything. I just think that will round out more. And I think the way it opens up, very excited. I like what it is. So, Mike, I saw you scribbling notes over there feverishly.
Yeah, no, I was writing notes down there, and then I was trying to figure out, there was something I was trying to put my finger on, and you had mentioned it, and I thought I imagined getting the vegetal note early on, because I was getting it and then I was going away. So what I had been getting, and then when you said that, and I was like, that's what that was, because it was, I was getting it really quick on the nose, and then I was getting which really shouldn't be surprising. And Tom, we have a thing we call fat boy tasting notes on here. So so I was getting then I was getting hot oatmeal with vanilla and brown sugar, and then I was getting like a root beer cola note on the nose. But in sipping it, I got that chocolate too. I got that chocolate really quick, and then it was like a it wasn't quite a butterscotch. It was like cooking, like if you were making something like melting butterscotch chips. That's what it was, more like that. But then towards the end on the palate was like a Triscuit. But then the thing that got me at the end was what's left of this sipping. It's like if you've been sucking on a hard candy and it just coats the entirety of your mouth. That's just like, it really, and I mean, for the age, like we don't like age whores. And because, you know, something can be good because it's good. It doesn't matter how old it is. And I agree. You know, you say you find the promise of this at its young age, but it's pretty darn good. It's really tasty. And that to have all those flavors at a pretty young age, I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I don't mean to jump back a couple shows, but I could go on a rant about age also.
Yeah. Please do.
Oh, we'll allow it.
I can, as a distiller, I am perfectly capable of handling people that don't like my product, but I have a hard time biting my tongue when I see someone who goes to the age statement first and then goes to the glass, and I'm like, all right, I know, I can tell you already what they're gonna say. And so I'm also we do so with our other bourbon, and ultimately I'll do that with this bourbon too. I started out barreling 15-gallon barrels, and we're releasing that one right now. It's just short of 2 years, and I think it's really good for a 23-month-old bourbon. But I am not one to say, well, it's in a 15-gallon barrel, so really this is like a 3-year-old bourbon. It's 23 months. 23 months is 23 months. And you might like it at that age, you might not like it, but all I know is I have a hard time keeping the stuff on the shelves. So, And the same thing with this. I'm like, I really like where it is at 3 months. So now it's just sitting and waiting. And this is also, I think this one is also might be a good candidate for blending, because that one char heavy toast barrel is a different flavor profile than this. So I may do some of each, and then do some blending with it to see where that goes.
That's cool. And I was going to say, I saw that we have Renita in the chat. Congratulations to you. She became a sommelier over the weekend. And I know Shannon was in here, and she was saying with oats, you usually get a little bit chewier mouthfeel. I agree with that as well, too.
Yeah, definitely.
So, go ahead.
I'll say, no, Mitch had another distiller comment.
No. Yeah, well, where is it?
He can't speak, but he can type.
Let me find it here.
I got it.
You did good.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think for me, it's a little early on the esters. So I'm kind of waiting to see how those shake out more. So I mean, my answer to that right now is nothing specific. But I think those will jump out more over time for me.
Oh, like you said, you're starting on that one. So Now, typically, I would start backwards and find out if there was any spirits or bourbons or what turned you on to, sounds bad, but what turns you on to drinking and enjoying it to the point where you would open a distillery?
Yeah, well, so I think I'm a little backwards in that regards, in that I was a person, because I have a business background. I had owned a few other businesses. My most of my career is spent in accounting, finance related work. So like 20 years ago or so, I decided I was tired of sitting behind a desk. I wanted to own a business where I was hands-on. I wanted to make and sell something. And it took a while to figure out that having a distillery was where that was going to be, or how that I was going to get that. So I came at a distillery as a business idea, more so than someone who liked to drink and thought, hey, I'm going to take this hobby and turn it into a business. So I've always liked spirits. I've always been interested in distilleries. I'm one who, if I'm in a town, I will seek them out. It just never occurred to me to do it as a business. And this was probably like not early. So like 2007, 2008, somewhere in there.
Hold on a second, Tom. We lost your voice for a second.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, there it is. You're back. Good.
All right. So I was at a local winery talking to the owner, who was having trouble getting barrels at that time. And he made a comment to me. He's like, boy, I wish we had a local cooperage making barrels out of local wood. So, light bulb goes on. I'm like, hey, there's something. Maybe I'll do that. Well, that didn't go very far. That's really hard work. I'm not really that ambitious, but in doing my research for that at the time, I'm like, well, where's that shortage coming from? And at that point in time, a lot of it was being driven by all these craft distilleries coming online. And so I was like, well, that would be interesting. Certainly fits part of, what I like to do. I enjoy spirits, really all distilled spirits. But I was pretty skeptical of it. Anyway, to shorten the story a little bit, the more I got into it, the more traction it got. And I was having a hard time ruling it out. And it was the first business idea I ever had that my wife actually thought was a decent idea. I didn't get the "you want to do what" reaction. So yeah, that's how it started. In terms of spirits, like I said, I've never like locked into any one thing. It was kind of a little of everything. Maybe if I had to pick one that I drank more of than anything else, it was rums. So hence the presence of rum in our distillery, but I was never exclusive to rum. That was kind of the background. It was kind of a weird route. I like being creative, which I saw there was another accountant that popped up, but yeah, creativity and accounting is not really a good mix. It creates some pretty serious problems.
Well, depends on who you work for.
yeah. But so yeah, that's really what it was, is looking for a creative outlet. And this has been perfect for me. I've never had a job that I liked as much as this.
That's awesome. All right. Well, since we were on the bourbon, did you want to stick with bourbon, or do you want to jump to rum?
We can jump to rum.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, because I think what you're gonna find, I know you guys you did some rum last week.
Mhm.
The style of rum that I do is not that big of a jump from bourbon.
Okay. Do we want to do the gold or the
Yeah,
black strap?
yeah. Let's do the gold
All right.
first.
Okay.
And when you guys started, this is what I thought that you guys, I don't want to say started off with rum, but there's a lot of distilleries that don't really bring that into the portfolio right away. I thought it was interesting that you got, that was one of the things that was there right away was a rum. While you were, waiting for other things to come to fruition. A lot of people do vodka or 18 different types of vodka, and then, maybe like a gin. But I just thought it was neat to see you guys actually, someone coming up with something that you could put out a little bit quicker. And I think rum right now is like almost a forgotten spirit. I was going to say everything else is an artisanal kind of niche thing. I I think it's being overlooked at the moment, maybe. Sorry. So I don't know. Just
No,
I got on a rant. Sorry.
no, but I agree with that. So the rum piece was one, yeah, I like it. So I mean, I guess I get to make what I like, but but it was much more than that. I viewed rum as an opportunity. There's not a lot of emphasis placed on rum, especially in this part of the country.
Mhm.
I thought rum is I believe is a very misunderstood category. So I thought it was an opportunity to, you know, introduce Northeast Wisconsin to what rum really is. That it doesn't begin and end at Captain Morgan's. You know, so yeah. So I viewed it as an opportunity, and I know that, you know, the common model for distilleries is you start slamming away whiskey and barrels, you do a vodka, do gin, and that's kind of the model. So yeah, I wanted to vary from that a bit. And early on, my plan was all I was going to distill was rum. I was just going to source my other products. As I went through the learning process, other distillers that I spent time with, they were everything that I learned on was whiskey, and so I hadn't planned on making whiskey until 2 or 3 years into the process. So I actually got started on that much earlier than I expected to. But yeah, that was my whole thing with rum. I wanted to produce a rum that was very very true to the class, but I don't know what true is with rum. So I wanted something that didn't have any additives. So I don't have any color added. There's no sugar added back to my rum. If I had to point to a style of rum that I kind of idolize, it's the rum that's coming out of Barbados. You know, Richard Seal at Foursquare Distillery is like my idol when it comes to rum. So that's the style I was after. It's something that had some body and character to it.
So, can I ask you a question? Is this
Yeah.
this gold rum? Is this in used barrels?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
Yeah. So, yep. You used bourbon barrels. I rinse my barrels before I use them. I don't want much, if any, residual bourbon. I use a Solera aging process. So this particular rum you have right now is a blend of 1 to almost 2.5 years. We started barreling like right out of the gate when we first started distilling. This is a blackstrap molasses based rum. And I do incorporate dunder in my
So you get a little bit
fermentations.
of that on the first going in. It's a waxy little kind of titch the funk note.
Yep, just a hint of,
Recognize dunder that it's
yeah. Yeah, it's not heavy like many of the Jamaican rums. It's not to that level, but there is just a little bit there.
All right, here. I'm gonna taste here.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
No. Please go ahead.
I was going to say it's a struggle getting people to try rum. They've been, many consumers have been burned by rums that aren't very good, and but I've been able to. I feel pretty good. We've been able to, open up some eyes and turn some people onto this.
Once again, the flavor coming through on the second half is a nice ride. And I think, Mike, when we had the other one, we talked about like baking or rums you would use in like baking.
Yeah.
I can see that with this.
Yeah.
I'll get into some flavors in a second, but I'll let you go. So sorry.
Yeah, no, so I was writing down the stuff that I was getting on the nose, and it reminds me, it's not the same as, but it reminds me of some light whiskeys that I had with the vanilla and the little bit of oakiness that was coming through right off the bat. And then I was just getting that little bit of funk on it. But I got to figure this out because I'm not getting that when I sip it. It's there's kind of a refreshing thing on the palate there, which is very, I don't want to say bright because that means something totally different, but it's just very,
it comes across as like a light rum at first on the beginning half of the palate.
It's lively. It's very lively. I'm gonna take a few more sips and I'll get back to you on what
bright with spices and stuff, but not. I don't want to say fruit, but the fruit in there seems more like a deeper pruny, figgy. But it's not heavy. It's almost like it's not a. If you're doing cake, Fat Boy tasting notes. It's not dense. Would be a good way to put it. It's not a dense cake. If you're
no, that lightness that comes through, it's very it's just this one where you're just like, oh, it's just a really refreshing note. But there's a
lemony.
Yeah, there's the citrus, the vanilla, and everything. It's very cocktaily as far as it's not just. Because I mean, we've all had rums that are just like, thank you for the sugar. I appreciate it. Thank you for the sugar very much. But this is and it's not overpowering in the sweetness either. It's and I don't want to say it's light because it's not light. There's a lot of flavors there, but it's not slapping you in the face with potential diabetes here. This is
yeah, it's
really nice. I like this.
It has flavors, but it's not dense. Like it has a nice light oiliness to it. Still more on the outside than over the middle of my tongue. But the way the flavors kind of punch through on like the second, third is really, I might be in trouble with this one. So how'd you decide on the location you guys were in and the name and everything? How did you guys end up over? Well,
so name first. So, I mentioned, my wife being supportive of the idea and me wanting to go in this. This is actually somewhat of a family business. While I've been certainly more involved than anybody else. My son-in-law works with me here in the distillery. My daughter's involved in things. So I have two daughters. Both of them have contributed. My wife gets dragged into things, whether she likes it or not. But so as a family thing, when we were trying to figure out a name, the Paradise North came up quickly, and we looked at other names, and we kept coming back to that, and that Paradise North is a reference. My family, myself, my wife, and kids, had to our home here in Green Bay, we would refer to that when we would be vacationing. We had this, is kind of a running joke that wherever we'd vacation, I'm sure people can relate to this because you're on vacation. Someone's going to make some reference, not necessarily use the word paradise, but it's always perfect, right? When you're on vacation. And so when we would travel south, so if we were vacationing in Florida, Green Bay became referenced as Paradise North, or Paradise North, back to our home. So that's the name. That's where that name came from. The location is just it's just really pure luck. I only looked at one other place before our existing location, and it was like a no-brainer for a long list of reasons. Aside from the fact that we're literally right on the Bay of Green Bay, and it really is a cool location. It's a beautiful view. One of the weird things about Green Bay, for those that don't know the city, is there isn't much on the bay.
That's true.
There's Bay Beach, the amusement park down the road, and then there's us. We're located at South Bay Marina, so there's a marina here. That's it. There are not other businesses on the actual Bay of Green Bay, and we get people from out of town that actually don't even realize there is a bay, because if you drive around town, you see the Fox River. Unless you go over one of the bridges and see the bay in the distance, they don't. It's a joke with the Visitors and Convention Bureau, because they find that in their surveys too, that a lot of people don't even know that there's an actual bay here. So the location was just, I mean, just stumbled into it, and it couldn't be more perfect for us. So I would encourage
it's
people.
right down. It's right down the road from Bay Beach Amusement Park, which is one of the, I'd say, another major draw to Green Bay. And if you head right down there, like you said, you're right on the water, and your porch is out there, and you guys have live music. It is and also you bring in food trucks and other things on the weekends. It's a really nice, relaxing place to enjoy some time. I may have done that a few times.
Well, and actually, sometimes I put on a baseball cap and pull it down over my face so people don't recognize me, and I like to hang out and sit on our patio too. It is a cool place to hang out.
Excellent.
Okay, there's only one other thing that I'll say about this rum. I could see this being in a really nice cocktail. It would do well, but don't you dare pour Coca-Cola on this. This is not Captain Morgan. It doesn't need that to hide anything. It's like you could just drink this rum. It's very nice, and I do mean that. That's a very nice drinking rum.
Mm-hmm. And the sugary sweet is almost like, for me, almost like an agave kind of sweetness to it, like the consistency to it. It's really neat.
When I was working on this and creating it, one of my goals, so this gold rum is just the age expression of our silver rum. So our silver rum is an unaged rum. I wanted to accomplish two things. I wanted a rum that was a good sipping rum, which is the gold rum is that the result of that. But equally as important, that silver rum. With silver rums, you'd have to be really nuts about rum to sip silver rums. And while, I might do it, I don't expect that that's how other people are going to use it. Silver rum is typically a heavy lifter in the cocktail world. But I wanted a flavor profile in that rum that actually accentuated or added to the cocktails that I expected it to be used in. Example, a daiquiri. And it's what I like about those simple cocktails like that. That's just lime, sugar, spirit. There's nowhere for the spirit to hide. If it's bad, you're going to taste it. If it's good, it should it should bring together all of those ingredients and make it better. And that's what I was after.
Well, and I was gonna, when you mentioned the cocktails there, what I like about the cocktail menu you have is that's steady, but you guys bring in a different cocktail like every week. So you're keeping your staff in it. No, I mean you're keeping your staff like thinking about how to use things.
Right.
And that in the long run for them will, if they stay in the industry, will be almost invaluable because you'll be the one being able to pick things out and answer questions all the time because you were the one that spent the time making and experimenting with things. So
yeah, and that's actually a lot of fun for us too. Is that we have a different weekly special every week. It kind of keeps us on our toes in terms of being creative. You know, there's sometimes when it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do next week? But for the most part, it's not that hard. So we're always messing with our stuff, trying to figure out other ways to use it. Because again, as much as I would like to say that, you know, you should only want to sip our spirits, I recognize the reality of it is that most people are going to be drinking these things in cocktails. So I want them to work well in cocktails also.
all right. We want to slide to the blackstrap now and stay in the rum land.
Sure.
Sorry. And this one, do it here. Gonna give some people ideas of color wise where we're talking. The one on the right is obviously the gold. The one on the left is the blackstrap. So both 80 proof, but significantly darker. Ooh. On this, you get a little bit more of the funk, but like a really neat molasses note that swirls in with it. I like that. That really blends together well. And I'm getting more of it's like a molasses cookie now that I'm getting in here more. The sugar on top. And there's some pastry notes in here now that I went kind of mid-level glass and higher. I'm also getting like a fruit filling here. This is getting kind of, it's not the same, exactly the same, but it's kind of roux-ish with the level of like where it's going. It's just more, I want to say Christmas spirits to it compared to where that it was, but that's not a rum, but. And the earthy note's like almost an earthy chocolatey note. I'm excited to see where this one goes. Sorry, Mike. I'll let you when you're done writing. You can comment. Sorry.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's got a really neat, like a sugary ring going around the outside of my tongue. Not through the middle. You can tell there's like a coating there, but it's like the outside is zinging with sugar and flavors. Wow. Okay. A, I like this. B, I could see using this in cocktails in a lot of different ways. Just because it's got a little bit, I like a little more earthiness or a little more grab, and this has a little bit more of that. Wow. Well, I don't have to go far. That's the nice part about these. I just have to wander into the next room or two and make it that far. So, but if you do, you can always take an Uber otherwise. That's the beautiful thing about today's world. Oh, he's super serious lately. Are you good? Are you done taking? You want to comment?
Well, no, because I'll tell you something. No, I like it, but I was like, it's like, okay, what is this reminding me of? Because like, you know, the flavors are one thing, but so on the nose, I was just straight up Christmas pastries and warm cinnamon on the nose, and it was reminding me of another spirit that I had, but not in a, I don't want to say, not that I'm comparing it to the other spirit, but then trying on the palate, okay, the thing that got me on the palate, have you ever had hot buttered rum?
Yeah.
And if you ever let it cool off a little bit and you drink that, and I'm like, it's cooled off hot buttered rum with that cinnamon and stuff. And oh shit. Yeah, this is really good. This is, I'm going to save some of this. I'm going to warm some of this up and,
see how that works.
Yeah. So what it reminded me of is from Cat's Eye, they had the spirit called Krupnik. Mm-hmm. That is it's very sweet, it's very sticky, and you can see all the spices and everything in the bottom of the bottle. And it's great when it's really cold out and stuff like that, but then it's also I like it. It's a bit much. You take a sip of it, and then it's like your mouth is stuck together from all the sugar and syrup. So that's just a bit hard. But all those spices, those nice spices and everything on that's what it reminded me of. But this, honestly, on the palate, it's like it's a cooled off hot buttered rum. I like it.
So the story on this is, first of all, this was one that I did because I wanted it specifically for cocktails. Now it turns out it's a really good sipper. It's very easy to drink, but yeah, it was. I like dark and stormies. I wanted a dark and stormy rum. So what I do to make this is that molasses flavor that you're getting is again dunder. Now not spoiled dunder. I use the fresh stillage to flavor this. That's where that molasses comes from. Then, and it gets some vanilla. We use real vanilla beans. And then the spice is, we use some allspice and nutmeg in this. It is also back sweetened with caramelized sugar. This one is actually changed since we first released it. It's subtle, but if you have the two side by side, there's a difference. This one spent some time in a barrel also after we do all of that. So before we add the sugar, everything else goes in the barrel, spend several months in there. Then we pull it out. We do the back sweetening at that point in time, and then bottle. But that barrel piece we did not do when we first came out with this. Mm-hmm. And our spiced rum is the same thing. That now gets barreled as well. And I just really like that little bit. The amount of time it spends in the barrel just really softens it up nicely, and just better melds those flavors together. And Mike, you talk about hot buttered rum. Yeah, we serve hot buttered rum here on our winter menu, and it's really all about this. Because that's what I like about this, that heavy molasses, or those heavy molasses notes, are really nice in a lot of the kind of traditional or typical rum cocktails that I find can oftentimes get overly sweet. So this helps to break through that sweetness and kind of just mellow that out a bit. So even when mixing with things like pineapple juice or the juices, or in hot buttered rum that has a lot of sugar and butter and stuff in it, it just kind of helps to kind of mellow that out and make it not so overly sweet.
Yeah, this is it's really good. I'm gonna need to call the mule to get a bottle of this.
The mule can do it, or hey, you might even be here in December.
That's right.
We can venture a few places. I'm talking them into coming to the Kansas City game that weekend.
Oh yeah.
In which case, since the game is not till 7:00 at night on Sunday, we have some time.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this a lot, Tom. This is really good.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, let me get to one thing here. Which he's giving us. Yeah.
It is not very far away. That is true. Yeah.
All right. And And besides, is there another way to get this besides stopping at the distillery?
Yeah, we are distributed now. Our distribution really just got going this year. So, yeah, we're kind of, you'll find us in most places in Northeast Wisconsin. We're kind of scattered around the rest of the state. Best thing to do is just shoot us an email or contact us and just say, hey, tell us your location and we can find the closest spot for you. That list is changing so often it's hard for us to stay up to date with it. But yeah, we can probably find it for you. Unless you're out of the state. So
then you find a mule.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oops, sorry about that, everyone. All right. So we have a couple more things to try here. We have the old M28 bourbon, and we have a gin as well.
Oh, I forgot I sent you the old M28.
There was a slew of things here. I was like, I'm pretty sure we're going to have an okay time by the end of the night. Which, what did I saw? The one South Park where it's classy because it's a tasting. Well,
yes,
that's true.
Yes.
I'm not drinking one Sharon. I'm drinking 6. It's classy.
Though I did explain to him. I had to explain to my doctor about that at one point. I was like, no, I'm not having 6 drinks. I'm having about a half or a quarter. So maybe like 2 to 3 drinks. There's a difference.
Yeah. Any internet retailers of your stuff yet?
No internet retailers. Out of the 920 area code, yeah. But again, just shoot us a message.
I'll get you the information, Kevin.
Yeah. Or better yet, go to wherever you normally buy your spirits and ask them to get our stuff. That is the ultimate.
That's the best way to do it. Wait, hold on. All right, I don't know if hold on.
Uh-oh.
Sorry,
He's soliciting.
Do you like music?
Now you're just.
Where's this going? Oh, okay.
Now you're just poaching, Kevin.
Yeah.
We'll have to.
I actually have some Kevin that I can. I don't think that'll be a problem.
There's
you would like bourbon turntable.
There's a guitar back here someplace. There's a drum kit at home in my basement. So yeah.
Okay. we'll get you in touch with Kevin. I think you'd like to be on there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, Kevin, that's fine. All right. So I'm switching over to the bourbon right now.
Yeah, the M28.
Hold on, I'm gonna have another glass of water or another swish of water just to clear out all the rum. And I don't know which one's my blending glass here. I have 2. I might have to pour those together.
So what's the name M28 mean?
So you'll find with our spirits that everything plays off of the Paradise North. So we have our line of vodka, our rums, and then our whiskeys, and they all are branded after some of our favorite places of paradise. So old M28, I had family in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I have a cabin up there. My family owns land up there. Old M28 is the road that our cabin is on.
Okay.
And then we have another bourbon here. It's a sourced bourbon that we carry. 10 Mile bourbon. 10 Mile is a river that borders our property up there. So those are all up north references, if you will. The rums are all branded. Wow, I didn't have a favorite smell. But I love spreadsheets. Maybe there's a show that just talks about spreadsheets.
Yeah.
What's your favorite spreadsheet? What's the best spreadsheet you ever created?
Was it the
Anyway,
layout?
yeah, rums are all Beach Road rums. Vodka line is all Essen House products. Essen is the street that we live on in Green Bay. So anyway, they all have ties back to our name.
Okay.
M28, that's getting to be a pretty good sized spreadsheet.
Kevin must have a little, or Mitch must have a little experience with it too, because I was pretty quick on the M28.
Yeah.
M28.
What's the ABV on this?
46%.
Okay.
Well, I think I mentioned this before, but this is now at, I think this was 23 months. It's going to say a year on the label, but our next release will be at 2 years, and we've got it staggered such that it'll continually get older. 92. I will monitor that. I settled in at 92 because I don't care for the higher proof with the younger bourbons. This one I just didn't think did very well at higher proofs. I haven't released a barrel proof just because I don't think it's worthy of that level of alcohol. But it is kind of coming into its own now, so I may go. I shouldn't say I may. I will go back and look at that, because the last barrels that we emptied, it was outstanding out of the barrels. Like those, I would do a barrel proof on. It's worthy of that now.
I like your honesty of it, of not of being honest about where something comes before it gets to like I'm okay with this, because that's a hard thing to do, especially when you're starting out a new distillery and trying to find where everything is. And there's a lot of times you're tasting a lot of your own stuff and not really kind of gauging it against everything else. So having the patience to wait is important. So
yeah. Well, I think honesty is and transparency is everything in craft distilling. Even like source products, we have some source products. I don't look down on those. I just don't try and cover it up. Just tell it like it is. And yeah, I think like on your intro with Alan Bishop, you'd mentioned something about him talking about a mistake he made. Yeah, like that gold rum. To anybody that had my first release of gold rum, I would apologize for that, because looking back on it, I released it earlier and at a higher proof than it should have been. And now, I saved some of that. I go back to it and I'm like, yeah, that wasn't really what I wanted. That was that was wanting to have something out. And it really just wasn't ready. Fortunately, that was a really small release though. So, but yeah,
but that's happened at a lot of places.
Oh, sure.
Huge, big places like Wyoming. David Fossio mentioned that he's like, we wanted to have something, and I think there was a relative that was like running for governor or something. He's like, so we had something, we put it out, and like looking back, it was like, no.
Yeah. Well, and I bet every distiller I had the opportunity to talk to before opening the distillery warned me about that. Don't put it out on the market until it's really ready. Don't rush it. And I will say, for the most part, no, not for the most part, that was the only one. But yep, that was one I learned from, and won't do that again. So it wasn't. I'm making it sound like it was god awful horrible. It wasn't. It's just where it's at today. I'm like, yeah, Now I wish I hadn't put that one out.
Yeah. So, Mike, what were some of the notes you were getting on here? I don't
On the noses, it was just overwhelming brown sugar oatmeal.
I was getting a little bit of like honeycomb.
But then there's like there's a sweetness there that I couldn't quite put my finger on because it's not. Okay, here's the thing, and maybe this is what you're trying to do with your rums and everything else. Some people can make things way too sweet, and I mean, if you saw me in person, you would say this man is no stranger to candy, but there are limits to sweetness, and sometimes you can overdo it. It's like it's sweet, but it stops short of being like too sweet, and I couldn't quite figure. So I have just minimal notes. I had the brown sugar oatmeal, and then when I sampled, and I was going to go back into it, but what I noticed about on the palate was it's very grain forward in the good ways, where it's you're not hiding anything. You're not hiding anything by barrel. You're not hiding anything by doing something else that's on there. It's the grain really shines through there in a very good way. And I need to dig more into it, but I like this.
I like your phrase grain forward because it's like different levelings of it as you're going through it.
Yeah.
And at one point I want to say you almost get like a little bit of leather, but it's
It makes me happy to hear you guys say grain forward, because that was an objective of mine, something I wanted to accomplish. My finishing still is an alembic pot still.
Nice.
And initially I was only going to use that for rum, but when we started doing whiskey from a capacity standpoint, I ended up doing my spirit runs on that alembic still, and I really liked it. I really liked the grain notes, and it was something that I wanted to carry through in the bourbon. I didn't want my bourbon to be just about the barrel, and I don't mean to say that other bourbons are all about the barrel, but I did want it to be grain forward. That's what I was after.
What char level is this one at?
3.
3, really?
Yeah.
Like you were saying, it's got a little bit of sugary note on it, but from where it's not as super oily, viscous, for a little bit of sugary note, that goes away over the middle of my tongue, and it's just like kind of flavors that come out. So I'm just having it's coating, but I'm not feeling like it's like this viscous coating on my tongue, and it's not bad. I just can't peg it right now.
It's a flavor coating, because that's what was throwing me off, because it was I can't quite put my finger on what it's doing to after I get the initial grain forward. There's kind of a little cola, but then it just really I know it's not high proof, but it spreads out like a higher proof whiskey does, and then it just kind of just stays there. It's very lingering on the tongue.
I get plum and kind of, when you said cola, more of like a Dr. Peppery kind of coming forward through my tongue as it goes on. And it has a little, just a light, most people know, just a light little bit, tiny amount of like warmth to it, where it like reminds you that you're at least drinking alcohol, which I like. I've always liked a little, but that fades away really quick, and you're just left with the flavors. Wow. I think I like this one more this evening than I did before.
Yeah, I like this. That's very nice.
Because it's not overpowering. You could drink this sipping it. I don't know if you could put it in drinks and everything, but this is, I don't want to say that would ruin it, but it's not I don't know. It's not overly powerful in any way besides the grain.
So when you made this, you mentioned wanting to do the grain forward. Were you thinking neat drinking cocktails? What were you thinking with this one?
Again, both. I mean, really both. I'm not. So I'm not a fan. So when I hear people say, especially if they drink something of mine and refer to it as being a good mixer, I take that as that means you think it's pretty crappy. So I'm there are spirits that are good for mixing and for sipping, and then there are spirits that are good for sipping. Yeah, honestly, really everything I do is my objective is both. I mean, again, the mission of our distillery here in Green Bay is to be educational, and I want people to experience and learn to appreciate spirits. And I just recognize that most of the time they're going to start that with cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when I do things, that's what I'm looking at is, okay, how is this most likely going to be used? It needs to be good enough to stand on its own as a sipping spirit, but it also needs to be mixable in a cocktail. Someday I will get to those spirits that are purely sipping spirits, but we've been distilling for 2.5 years, and we're not really there yet. I don't feel like we're able to make that leap at this point in time, but we'll get there.
So did you mention if I forgot it, but did you mention the mash bill on this?
No,
it reminds me of a 4-grain.
And it's not. It's a what do you think? 69 corn, 18 rye, 13 malted barley. Again, the 18% rye, enough rye that people will experience the unique flavor characteristic of rye. Certainly not high rye, but enough there that when I do tasting classes, people can pick it up. It's not that difficult.
Okay. That's a nice one too. All right.
Yes. Very much. I like that very much.
Oh, holy cow. I didn't realize we're sliding in over an hour on you, Tom. I'm sorry about that. That's usually where we try to cut things off, but I'm not going to let you go because we got at least one more thing to drink.
We got to do the gin.
Got to do the gin. And
we're still talking about spreadsheets.
Oh yeah, our chat's all over the place.
We got a lot of nerds.
That's fair. Oh. So do you guys have room to expand from where you're at, inside where you're at?
Absolutely. It's one of the great things about this place is because we are in a converted warehouse attached to more warehouse. So I pretty much have endless warehousing capacity that we can grow into. So yeah. Oh, hey, you know what? Speaking of our location, I should have brought this up with the last one. One of the things I've discovered with our aging is that in our angel share, we are coming out of the barrel at almost the same proof that we're going in, which is, we haven't been releasing our bourbons for very long now, just since last fall, which kind of surprised me. That's unusual for this part of the country. And And so I think it has something to do. I'm gathering data on that now, but I believe it has something to do with our proximity to the water. We're dealing with a little bit higher humidity here. Anyway, yeah, it's just
That's interesting because that's rare that happens anytime. Like,
right.
yeah,
Right. Yeah. We're going into the barrel. Our 15-gallon barrels, we're going in at 110 proof. We're coming out 109.8, 109, between 109.6 and 109.8. Yeah. Strange.
Very strange, but neat. Sorry, I like that. I like that. It's like a little whiskey mystery. Might have to get the little Scooby-Doo bus together and come figure that out.
Well, yeah, it's like, as much I like to say as everything is planned and intentional, sometimes not.
All right, hold on.
So, what botanicals are in your gin?
Okay. So it starts out pretty traditional. Juniper, coriander, angelica root, some orange peel, some cinnamon. So nothing out of the ordinary there. But then we add some local foraged items. So spruce tips, prickly ash berries, and birch bark.
There's a little bit of the spruce that I could hit in there, but I couldn't tell if it was more of a spruce or a wintergreen.
Yeah, spruce tips are a interesting flavor profile because they're actually quite citrusy.
Yep.
I mean, more than anything, citrusy. You get a little bit of the, spruciness, for lack of a better term. But yeah, they're. It's an interesting thing. I find a lot of. I mean, I do a lot with spruce tips. I think we make a spruce tip syrup, which is incredible. A little bit of spruce tip syrup in bourbon is delicious.
Dina Ewalds, who makes cocktails, and we had it on the show that makes cocktails, has turned us on to spruce tip stuff. She does some Nordic cocktails and other things at different points. And she, if you haven't gotten tickets to the Bourbon Women's event in, I think it's Louisville, or is it Lexington?
I think it might be Lexington.
I think it was Lexington.
Somebody in the chat knows. Someone
in the chat knows. She'll be competing there for best cocktail. So if you get a chance, stop out there, because if you're going to have one, why not have 4 fantastic cocktails or 6? Exactly. How many other people are competing? Take advantage of it.
And we have 2 confirmed. It's Louisville. So we ain't local, folks. So we have a history on here of none of us liked gin. And then Fred Swanson at Dancing Goat was just like, I'm going to show you guys how to like gin. Because as Pat's experience was the pine tree hanging from the rearview mirror with every gin, and mine was it's like walking through a perfume counter at a department store, and everybody would always say, "Oh no, you should try this one," and they would come. It's just awful. So since then, I've turned into where I do really like gins, and I have turned a couple people on to that who had the same experience as me. This one, for the people that have been watching us for a while, this is one that you can drink. This is a really nice, fun gin. I like this a lot.
I frequently say that I think craft distilleries have done more for gin than any other spirit. And I get that reaction from people. They kind of recoil when they hear gin, and I'm like, well, I put people in 3 categories. There's those that don't like gin, there's those that like gin, and then there are those that haven't really tried much gin. And that's it. It is such. gin is such a broad category that I encourage people to just, especially from a craft distillery standpoint, because craft distilleries are doing such neat things with gin. I've tasted, I mean, I love our gin, but I love going around and trying other gins, and I've tasted some just amazing things. And that's what I encourage people to do. Make sure you try enough gin before you decide that you don't like it.
Mhm.
And because you may genuinely not like it, but make sure you give it a chance, because when you do find the gins that you like, it's a wonderful spirit, and there's so much you can do with it.
Well, yeah, I was gonna. It is amazing that there's a lot of gins that get overlooked just because you got so attacked by, I want to call well, just the variety you're saying. Because when I was younger, probably everything was made with like a London Dry, for
Right.
in the most part, and just what you get with from the different style of craft, but also getting some of the Western gins, like you said, it is a wide variety of botanicals you can hit from. Like some can be like ultra citrusy, and I think gin for me, and this, like, I know you just said it, and you may like come to a bunch of gin for me is more of a mixing thing. I haven't gotten to the point where I'm gonna I'll try it like this and I like it like this, but I'm probably, if I'm going to drink it, I'm probably gonna put it in a cocktail for me. But I like the way everything you have on this. I don't want to say it's subdued on the nose, but when you come through in the flavor profile, it has a little more punch than what you're getting on the nose. Because that's honey, spruce, like you said, cardamom, coriander. Oh, there's a lot going on there, and it's very clean as far as a gin goes. It's not a dirty gin tasting it. There's not a lot of other side notes. It's very crisp, clear notes that you're getting out of it. That's just, that second half, and it's a little bit brighter than my nose. Maybe something's wrong with my nose tonight. That sounds dumb, but I mean, I don't know if maybe I'm missing a bit, but it smells a little bit flatter. But when it comes to actually the flavor, it pops up like 2 notches.
Yeah, it's very nice gin.
It almost opens up my nostrils from the inside. I feel like I'm breathing better now than I did before. Yeah, that's actually really, I like that drinking. See, I'm very impressed by all 5 here.
Yes.
I was gonna say, and I was holding back on the gin a little bit just because we said we've had, and even of the ones that we've had from some other craft places, not all of them have kind of hit that a nice bar, if you were to put it. This does, though. This is really neat. Mitch, I think the thing said you got your bottles already, so I have all sorts of questions for UPS tomorrow. There's all sorts of questions.
So there's a question about spirits tasting accompanied by cheese. Yeah, well, of course, yeah, we do that. That's a thing. And if I can figure out how to incorporate cheese into a cocktail, I will do that as well. So, still working on that.
Nice.
That's one of those ones I feel like should always be in a Bloody Mary, but I don't know if that's just from Wisconsin. But I feel like a cheese stick it should always be in a Bloody Mary, more so than celery. But that's only because I feel like celery is a wasted vegetable.
It's one of those negatives. It's something like you burn more calories eating it than you consume. No, I'm serious. I think that's what it is.
Oh, I believe you. I believe that's true.
But yeah, I could probably do the same, chewing on one of the trees that grows outside my place here. But yeah.
Okay, so I was just more gonna say that. All right, here. I'm not gonna. Do you have your blend of everything, Mike?
I have the blend of everything, but no gin.
Okay, that's fair because I
Yeah.
thought that might. All right, good.
I've got everything equal amounts, but no gin, because I did not think that would be a good idea.
No, that's fair. Sorry, Tom. We have a little blending thing we do on every show. Sometimes it turns out great. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. We've had some really fantastic blends, and then some not so much.
And some that were blends of good stuff that turned out horrible. Like, I don't even know what happened. And on one of those, I let it sit for a week to just see what would happen, and it did get better. Ooh.
Yeah, I like the nose on this. And again, I know I said this earlier, but to me, there's a common thing across here of everything. I guess you could include the gin, but there is a sweetness, but it's stopped short of being too much. It carries over. It's very nice. You're like, oh, this has got a nice sweet flavor to it, but it doesn't go overboard with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the nose of the combination of all these, considering 2 rums, 2 bourbons.
It's a vanilla molassesy.
Yeah, it's got a nice nose to it.
I can't even name all the flavors coming out of it right now. Isn't that grain cracker?
This is dry, so I didn't.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know the rules here.
That's fair.
But that blackstrap with bourbon is interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna say it holds its own in there, but it kind of it's not overpowering. It just is like a background flavor to it. That's
That might become a thing.
Yeah, but no, like I said, when you guys first started, I love the fact that you guys were going with rums, and you guys are on the right path with that because those were both really good rums. If you didn't have them, you should have them at your house. I know you're using the blackstrap in cocktails, but that's the bottle I'm the most afraid of just getting rid of here this evening. That's left over because that was really something special with all that was going on in there. So, do you have any? I know you guys have a bunch of events with people coming out every weekend, but is there anything else coming up? Any releases coming up in the next? Well, you have a Cherry Bounce thing probably coming at some point.
Yeah, so Cherry Bounce is our seasonal release. That always comes out. We have a release party for that Black Friday, so day after Thanksgiving. We have a big party for that. I do some of that. I've got that oat bourbon, some of it, not the stuff in 1 gallon barrels. I got some 3 gallon barrels. We'll bottle it. We're not going to sell the bottles, but towards the end of October, we're going to have some of that available as pours in the distillery. So we've got that. I've got a maple barrel finished bourbon that's going to be coming out. So that's something we're starting to get into is the barrel finishes. So we've got a barrel rested gin coming up. That maple barrel bourbon. I've got we'll do a small limited release of a hawthorn gin. So it's gin flavored with hawthorn berries.
Okay.
I haven't found any other distilleries that are doing that in the States. Again, it's a foraged product. It grows on our land up in the UP. Really neat flavor profile. We've got, those are all going to be kind of small limited releases. That's kind of how we're going to do a lot of things going forward, is just little test experimental batches, small releases. If they go over really well, we can always, ramp up the production on that stuff. But we're trying to keep things fresh, trying to give people something different on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Well, that
Well,
was,
I blended the blackstrap and the oat bourbon. That's a nice blend.
all right. All right. One more then. One more. But then,
One more for the road.
yeah, then I probably got to get going here. Give me a little smidge of this. Oops, that was more than a smidge. Okay. I'll agree with you on that, but it's there's a lot of different sugar, chocolate, and neat notes that happened on the tail half there. Sorry, I didn't mean to stop me dead in my tracks there, but that I tried to talk in the back half, had some neat stuff going on there that picked me around. I'm going to enjoy that one the rest of tonight. So, Tom, I just wanted to say thanks for coming on and spending an awful long time with us this evening. It ran a little bit longer than normal, and we appreciate you spending the whole evening because it's your night off. So we appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be a part of it. Yeah, and you got me. I stayed up past 9 o'clock. That's a big accomplishment for me.
So remember to stop in next week. We'll have a new show then. Tom, if he has anything going on, I'm sure we'll keep people abreast of anything new and stuff, neat things coming out. Or if you want to come on the show again, we are also more than happy to. And that's right. The co-host, Mitch, his birthday is tomorrow. Got a little birthday party this weekend if you didn't get to go to it, but wish him a happy birthday tomorrow. So, all right. So remember, it's not the size of them that matters. It's the love of whiskey. Cheers, everyone.
And happy birthday, Mitch.
Happy birthday.
What?